Christmas Eve, and that means tomorrow is the big day, Christmas Day itself. And I'm sure many of us have been getting ready for it, whether that's buying presents and wrapping them, or preparing food, buying food, preparing food, getting it all ready for the big day. But alongside that, we've also been preparing for Christmas by our Advent series, as we've been going through scriptures on this journey to Jesus. And we're really grateful for everybody, all the contributors who have reflected on different characters, have written, recorded, and uploaded their thoughts and reflections. I know so many of us have been blessed by hearing these daily devotions, and we just want to thank you. And thanks to these people, we've gone through Abraham and to Jacob, past Rahab and David, onto the prophets, and through to even the cast of Christmas that we know and love from our nativity stories, with a couple of gospel writers thrown in as well. And all of them are directing us to that history-defining moment where, as Michael Card writes, eternity stepped into time. God becomes one of us in the birth of Jesus. Now, alongside these 20-plus journeys that are metaphorical, prophetic, and real, one more journey for us to think about. Not a journey to Jesus, but the journey of Jesus. And we're going to be thinking about that more this evening at our 11 o'clock communion service. And Catherine's going to be sharing some reflections on the journey of Jesus. But just a little thought as we come to the end of our Advent video series, a little thought on Jesus' journey. Now, we may be preparing for the perfect Christmas day as is depicted by all those supermarket adverts that we see on our televisions. Or perhaps we have a perfect image of what that first Christmas was like as well. Maybe it's informed by Christmas cards or paintings or ornaments, or maybe school plays and productions. We have Mary and Joseph looking ever so serene, looking onto the baby Jesus, in spite of the fact they've just finished a perilous journey with a panicked arrival, and Mary has just given birth but is looking fabulous for it. We have pristine shepherds in their best colourful robes and tea towels on their heads, carrying really well-behaved animals, shining white lambs, and they're sat cheerily beside three kings who weren't actually kings and who weren't actually there at that point, but much later on, inside a beautiful, well-built stable that is lit gently by a hanging star. It's a beautiful image, isn't it? But is that really real? Or is it yet another idealized image of how we would like it to be, or how we would like it to have been? I don't know what Mary and Joseph imagined how things would be on the arrival of Jesus, or the shepherds, what they were expecting, or the wise men, or even further back, what were the prophets really thinking was going to happen, or even way back, those pioneers of the story, Abraham, etc. What we have picked up across the scriptures and in Jesus' life as well is that people either had no idea or the wrong idea of what it meant for God to be among us. It's what Jesus faced throughout his life. Family, friends, followers and foes pretty much all got it wrong about what it meant for God to be among us. What we see is Jesus, not what people expected, in the situation of his birth, in his anonymity, in his years of up until about the age of 30, then his ministry, his messiahship, the manner of his death, his rising from the dead, his ascending into heaven, and his promised return. None of that was expected by anyone. Anyone, that is, apart from, I think, Jesus himself. You see, out of all the journeys that we've looked at towards that stable, Jesus' journey was the longest, was the biggest, was the riskiest, and certainly the costliest. And we get that from John chapter 1, where it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, the Word was God, and the Word became flesh and lived among us. And we see it expanded in Philippians chapter 2, whenever Paul writes about Jesus, even though he was equal to God, didn't consider that equality something to be held on to for himself, but instead made himself nothing, taking the nature of a servant and being obedient to death. You see, the thing is, with this journey that Jesus took, he was under no illusions of what it was going to be like. He knew exactly what he was getting himself into prior to that heaven to earth journey. So Jesus, he was not surprised by stable or straw. He was not caught out by apathy or misunderstanding or opposition or rejection that he faced. He was not deterred by the depth of sin and how it had invaded and ravaged the human heart. Jesus knew before it all what this journey would take. There's a song that we have sung at SBC. It's a relatively new one, and it's called Reckless Love. And the chorus goes, "Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God." And whenever we first started singing it, there was a real mixed response to it. Mainly because this idea of God and reckless, it just didn't sound right. It didn't sound right until our blessed brother, Barry Holden, who sadly is no longer with us, but for him, it's wonderful. He is dancing with his Lord in glory. He came up to the front of the church and he reminded us of what the meaning of reckless and recklessness is. And he said something along the lines of, recklessness is knowing the full cost of something, of an action, and doing it anyway. Knowing the full cost of something and doing it anyway. See, that's what has got to me this Christmas Eve and thinking about the journey of Jesus. And as we think about this on Christmas Eve, that journey of Jesus to earth, to Bethlehem, to the stable, to us. Jesus knew the journey and what it would entail. He knew its destination and where it would ultimately lead. And he knew the cost that he would have to bear. And he set off anyway on that journey. He set off for you, he set off for me, and for each person. Not surprised by any of it, he knew what he was getting into, and he set off anyway. I hope that you have been blessed and encouraged, maybe a bit challenged by the reflections of the journeys to Jesus, but I really pray that in this day that we think about the journey of Jesus and the fact that he knew what it would cost him for us, and he did it anyway.